Last but not least arrives the private sector point of view brought by Javier Riviela. Javier Riviela holds a bachelor's in finance and economics by the University of Nevada with an MBA from San Francisco State University. He's a chartered financial analyst with extensive experience in investment banking in private sector, first at Banco Santander and later at ING Group, as European co-head of the small and mid-cap equity research. He's co-founder and present CEO of Pangea?
We call it Pangea.
Pangea Oncology. He will present today this company and the services that it provides to the healthcare sector.
Great, thanks. Okay, well, thanks very much. Thank you to the organizers for making this event happen. I'm actually not a scientist, so I think you're really lucky because we're going to make the presentation really short. And you're also really lucky because my presentation is the last one and you can go home. So I will try to explain what Pangea Oncology is. I only have a few 4 or 5 slides on the business model, and also have, considering our Chinese friends are here, we have a couple of publications on cancer with Nanjing as well that could be really helpful to understand what we do. Basically, we're a publicly listed company. We started the company 10 years ago in 2007. Actually, most of our operations are in Barcelona. However, we're also maños, what we call from Zaragoza recently. We're kind of like a new kid on the block, but we also have a lot of relation to Aragon and Zaragoza, among others, because Grupo Picolín, Alfonso Solan's family is our main shareholder with 37% stake. Management, we have around 40% stake in the company, and the rest is free float, so it's capital trading in the market. I think from a science perspective, what's really important is that we have Dr. Rafael Rosell, who is a key opinion leader in lung cancer, well known by most of the oncologists. We have Santiago Ramón y Cajal, who is the pathologist from Zaragoza, quite friend of the city as well. Also Dr. Maestre, who used to be the head of lung transplant at Vall d'Hebron in Barcelona, and also linked to this city because he went through med school here. And you don't know me because I'm from Asturias, so but also have a lot of friends in Zaragoza as well. We took this company, so we started this company in 2007 with the whole idea of translational research and trying to do applied R&D and making the life of patients better. And we do this perhaps in a different way. Most of the biotech companies that you know tend to be funded by biochemistry, biologists, and so on. But our company is led by key opinion leaders in the medical sector. So most of our founders are medical doctors with a high scientific background in molecular biology. Initially, we were going to be a company based in a technology park, but because of our founders are medical doctors, we were called by Quirón Group, which is the largest private healthcare provider in Spain now with around 40% market share, to start clinical operations in the Sheus Hospital, which is a well-known hospital in Barcelona. And now we actually run 4 hospitals of Quirón Group in Barcelona. The Sheus Hospital, we do lung cancer in Tecnon. We also do full cancer in Hospital General de Catalunya and also in Sagrado Corazón. We have around over 3,000 patients active. We do around 20,000 oncology visits, looking at first visits around 1,500, which in the private sector is really not that bad, considering 90% of the oncology is based in the public sector. Basically, we have a translational laboratory that actually provides support to our patients, but only 10% of what we do in the laboratory relates to our own patient base. 90% of what we do is linked to services to pharmaceutical companies. And we basically have mainly 2 lines of services. First of all, we provide diagnostic services in general, but what's really important about our company is that 75% of the contract volume that we do is either ideas that we generate to make drugs better. By meaning drugs better is basically look at patient stratification strategies to get the right targets for drugs that are in development. either as better targets, or either drugs that perhaps could be on phase 1B, phase 2A with marginal responses. And at the end of the day, what we try to do is try to help pharmaceutical companies to select the right patients for the trials. To us, clinical trials is extremely important. I did not comment on this, but on the clinical side, we have 56 clinical trials open, which for the private sector is not bad at all. In fact, we're #1 clinical trial group in Quirón group in the private hospitals. And then on the laboratory side, we have full capabilities for NGS. Again, we do a lot of biomarker discovery for big pharma companies. We work for most of the big names that you know, Glaxo, Amgen, AstraZeneca, Roche, Novartis, and so on. Although we're a really tiny company, by the way, so even though we're publicly traded, which actually sounds quite glamorous, at the end of the day, we're still a tiny company with the same challenges as most of the startups that have been discussed here. And then again, we do drug profiling, biomarker discovery, and on the R&D side, we have two main lines. All of our diagnostic technology is mainly focused towards liquid biopsy. So at the end of the day, most of you know that liquid biopsy is trying to look at, in biological fluids, the same gene alterations that we actually see in paraffin-embedded material. And we have developed proprietary technology that we used in around 60–70% of the work that we do for big pharma. And then the other side of R&D is that we have a really modest preclinical drug development program. Although our partner is an outstanding partner, we have a collaboration agreement with UK Cancer Research in Cambridge. So most of our drug development side is in Cambridge. Although going forward, I think the company is mainly going to focus on diagnostic technology. So again, for big pharma, we act as a central laboratory for molecular diagnostics. We do drug testing for them. But we also, one of the things that we do is that we work a lot on technology validation. So we have actually signed, we have worked with Roche Diagnostics in the past, and we have recently signed an agreement with QIAGEN, the German company, to do a lot of validation work on new technologies that enable to look especially, DNA, tumoral DNA at blood-based levels, especially plasma technology. We have done around 100 contracts with pharma since we started the company in the year 2007. And again, around 75% of the work that we do is what we call high value added, what we like to call high value added, which at the end of the day is either because it uses our proprietary technology, or because the ideas that we provide to the pharma companies actually come out of our lab. We invest around 3.7 million, which is again not that high in R&D, but it's a really high effort for the size of our company. Around 60% of that in drug development, around 1.7% of that in molecular diagnostic methodologies. And our intention is, once we have late-stage preclinical proof of concept, the idea is to license out our drug development program, because at the end of the day, for us, it's impossible to be able to afford the whole thing. This is more for investors, but at the end of the day, in terms of the overall objectives, we just want to grow everywhere, patients, contracts, and so on. So I'm not going to bore you with this much. And this would be the last slide before I would like to comment later on, a couple of minutes of what I have seen in terms of the technology that I have seen today at this presentation. I wanted to put this up paper because this paper, we have done it with the Drum Hospital in Nanjing. It's a paper performed between the Catalan Institute of Oncology, ourselves at Pangea Biotech, and also the team of Baru Liu, which is a well-known oncologist in Nanjing at the Drum Center. So these are all the slides. From an industrial perspective, from an R&D perspective, there's a few things that are really interesting for us, from academia as well as from a potential relation to Nanjing and to the Chinese. Among others, because some of the genes, some of the targets that have been discussed here are extremely important in Asian market. To give you an example, I think some of the speakers have been speaking about EGFR. EGFR is prevalent around 10% of Caucasian patients, but the prevalence in Asia is around 30%, so it's a huge market. And those patients that are EGFR positive in Asia tend to have higher responses to EGFR TK inhibitors in general. So I think there is a lot of expertise that we have in the field of EGFR and the field of EGFR enrichment that we can provide. We're also highly interested in transferring liquid biopsy technology to Chinese labs in general. We don't produce kits, we provide services based on SOPs, based on methodology. And from what I have seen in the presentations that you have done, well, at the end of the day in oncology, you know that there's many trending topics, but there's 3 of them: immuno-oncology, liquid biopsy, targeted agents. So any technology that enables us to predict better responses, higher correlations, this is big data, machine learning, that's really important for us. Anything that finds tighter correlations, binding affinity on our drug development programs, anything that can enhance the analytical performance of the diagnostics tests that we do, we could be highly interested on that. So in essence, this is, I don't want to bore you too much because this is the last presentation and you want to go home, but this is pretty much it.